Spooky time, it's spooky time, it's spooky time, it's spooky time, yeah, spooky, spooky, spooky time, spooky, spooky, spooky time, spooky, spooky, spooky time, it's spooky time. Hello, cuties. So today we are doing a tag because I asked the Discord group, I had a blank space. What kind of video do you want to see? You want to see a challenge? You want to see a tag? You want to review? What do you want to see? And y'all said tag video. So here we are doing another tag. All right. This is the Fall Writers tag, and I found this tag via Alexandra Roslin, who I just recently discovered, but like love her aesthetic so much. She has a beautiful spooky background right now, and just all the goals of bookshelving, basically. But there are, I don't even know how many questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions. There are 10 questions in this tag. They are all fall related, not necessarily spooky related stuff, but that's fine. But it's more about writing, because I know a lot of my content ends up being about reading books and things like that. And of course, Her Royal Highness. But I don't do too much about authortube and writing stuff because I find it hard to create content for writing in general. That's not just me telling you, here's what I'm writing, because I've never really studied like the craft of writing, unless you go into linguistics and language and stuff, but not really so much that, because I feel like there's no real one way to do writing. But anyway, that's a different soapbox. We're not on that soapbox today. We are talking about the Fall Writers tag, so without further ado, question number 1. Crunching leaves, the perfect sound. What do you like listening to while writing? I am a big fan of lo-fi right now, so like Dream Hop and stuff. They have really good chill. I also love some good ambient sounds, so if there's a nice one with like a thunderstorm and a crackling fireplace kind of thing. There's a few on YouTube that have like 10-hour loops of like rainy library studying time, and I love listening to those. Otherwise, I have a few Spotify playlists that are curated to whatever I'm working on. So Hispakac has its own playlist, and usually they're either music that inspires me. So a lot of Wildwood Kin is like the band for Hispakac, but otherwise it'll be like movie soundtracks and instrumental music like that. Hot bubbling cider. What's your favorite thing to eat, drink while writing? I'm not actually a huge fan of eating or drinking while writing. Usually I will have a drink, but I don't necessarily need, for one, coffee, but a hot drink or anything to do it. Usually I will just have a water or something, a lemonade. Usually they're a flavored one, so I have those like Mio energy things, the sports drink stuff. I'll put those in because that's kind of for my diet what I drink. I don't drink soda anymore, no carbonated beverages for me. I don't drink coffee. Sometimes I'll have a tea, but I'll forget about it and it'll just get cold. So the ones I do drink are kind of like sports waters and stuff. That's mainly what I drink. A protein water, a protein shake sometimes, but for the most part, if I'm writing, I'm not really consuming much edible substances. Bonfires, the perfect night. Name your perfect writing conditions or your perfect writing night. Perfect writing conditions. Weather outside needs to be at least overcast, if not downpour, raining, and thunderstorming. I am one of those writers, which is why I use the ambient sound in case it's not, and I'll get the room really dark. If I can, I'll put on like I can't anymore, but I used to love writing with like scented candles and stuff. No more scented candles because of this one. If you don't know that, birds cannot be around those. They have very sensitive respiratory systems, so no incense, no candles, none of that stuff. And definitely no smoking. But yeah, so I used to like having that. I have the fake candles now, so I could light up one of these guys, put that next to my desk, things like that. I just like having it really dark with little bits of light around. And you know, for everyone to leave me the hell alone is also nice, except if I'm streaming. I do find I am very productive on stream for the productivity sprints, so I do find that body doubling does help me, but if it's gonna be just me alone, I need to turn off my phone almost at that point, but I need everyone to know to not call me and leave me alone so I can write. And yeah, just chilling and writing that way. I think those are probably my peak conditions to do some writing, right? Wouldn't you say? You're covered in my hair. Pumpkin spice latte. Something you used to like but now don't. In terms of writing, I used to like editing and now it's a drawl now. And I used to like outlining, but I don't really like to outline anymore because I find things just change, so what's the point in it? I'm actually really kind of getting the hand of zero drafting, which is weird, but I am, like, it's with all the short story stuff, I have just been able to, like, start the short story and just go with it and let it kind of become its own thing. I do outline my bigger novels, but again, they just change so much that outlining is no longer a favorite pastime of mine. And I used to love creating those kind of plot outline charts and things and using the 3-row, 9-block, 27-chapter method. But it's just nothing. It's not working for me anymore. Save the Cat has never worked for me. Yeah, so outlining is, I've lost my love for outlining. Goodbye. Halloween! Your favorite part of writing a novel. So when I have a novel idea, there's usually a scene that has happened in my brain. That is the scene that I'm trying to get to. So getting to that scene is my favorite. Usually it is a romantic scene where, like, the two characters I've been trying to get together through the whole book finally get together. That's usually, like, the thing that I want to write. Yeah, most of my novels do come out of spite, though, for some things. So, like, Hiss the Cat came out of because I was tired of everybody assuming the gender of Bigfoot is male. Ashport came about because I was really mad and spiteful about the episode of Supernatural where they had the Phoenix on in that Wild West one. I really hated that episode, so I wrote it better, basically. I didn't like their Phoenix mythology. I thought it was dumb. I'm gonna write my own. They all begin that way, but it's usually there is a specific scene that I can't write first because I have to make sure that I get the pathway there. But getting to that one scene is my favorite thing in writing, probably. Also, language creating, because I'm a linguist. But language creating when I need to is very fun. Monsters and goblins. What terrifies you most while writing or drafting a novel? Not being able to get it done. Getting to the middle. The middle scares me the most because that is usually where I hit a block. Because I usually start a story with a really solid beginning and I know exactly the ending I want, but it's all the stuff in the middle to get them from point A to point B that's very difficult for me to do. And I end up losing motivation, so that's kind of the scariest thing while I'm writing and drafting. There's stuff after a novel has come out that I'm terrified of. Like everyone just hating it, for one, or just like being like, you have so many typos, or, you know, I hate these characters, or suddenly, you know, somebody accusing me of doing something very harmful when that's never my intention. Cancel culture is very scary when you're a public figure. And yeah, those are the things after. But during the writing, drafting a novel, definitely it's the middle. The middle part is the scariest part. Hay rides, a bumpy ride. What do you do to get over a writer's block or get inspired? I've said this before on this channel. Everybody has a creative well, and when I hit a writer's block, that means that well is empty, so I need to refill it either by consuming other medias, various, like reading more books, watching some shows, listening to some music, walking out in nature, those kinds of things. I need to input and get inspiration and pull things from around the world, and then I will refill that well. How well does that work? I don't know. Well, we'll see. Haunted houses. World building. What are some tips you have on crafting the perfect world? Language. Language is a really important thing. Language reflects culture. So if you have a really developed culture, your language needs to reflect that. When you're creating a language, if you're saying, or when you're creating a book, and let's say, especially if you're pulling inspiration from real world, so let's say you're doing a fictional France, your language needs to reflect that culture, however way you want to interpret French culture or Russian culture or Japanese culture. In real world, language reflects that. So, like, you can take the example of Japanese. When you listen to Japanese, it has, there are certain rules in it. So everything starts with a consonant and a vowel. So kakiku keiko is in the basic alphabet. Everything has that. So there's no like TH sound and stuff. And it's a very kind of clear-cut language, I want to say. It's very organized. It has a lot of conjugations because there's different meaning to different things within one word. And I feel that's reflected in Japanese culture. Fine, go over there. Because, you know, there is a heavy emphasis on uniformity, conformity, organization. Things have to be a certain way. Like even just filling out paperwork in Japan, if you mess up one thing, there is a very specific way to cross that out. So that's kind of reflected in the language by having it have these very clear-cut rules. Whereas English does not have that. English is all over the place because we're an amalgamation of a million things. So those are some contrast for you. You can agree or disagree with me. That's how I interpret it. As someone who, you know, speaks Japanese and studies linguistics, that's my opinion on how that's come to be. And then, you know, the fact that Japan has 3 written languages, but it's not 3 written languages, it's 2 written alphabets and then the kanji system. So your history is a big part. So creating history and making that world. Now, world building doesn't have to be like high fantasy world building. World building can be within, you know, a contemporary world, but just like what your time period, what slang you're going to be using in it, you know, because it takes years for a book to come out. So sometimes you'll use slang that's so out of fashion by the time it actually gets published. Don't use memes, because those memes be dying quick sometimes. Pumpkins! It all starts with a pumpkin. Do your story ideas start with characters, plots, settings, or something else? As mentioned before, spite. Usually it comes out of seeing something in media and going, no, I don't like that. But then it comes to characters. Characters are usually the first thing. When I was creating Hisvakak, aside from the whole Harriet thing, the sisters were the first characters created, and their personalities. Calliope was the first one created for Hisvakak, and I knew I wanted 3 sisters, and I knew I wanted them having very contrasting personalities. So it's always characters. Ashport, same thing. It was character building. It was all character stuff. The short stories are usually based on a character. So I'm a character girl. Quite the character, one might say. Okay. Last question. Ghost stories. Share a spooky writing prompt. I did not pre-plan that. Your spooky writing prompt is: there's something in the mist. No, that's the mist. The prompt will be, for anybody who wants to write this prompt, is your pet is starting acting differently in a very strange way, in a spooky way. Your pet is spooky now. Write it. There you go. Okay, but there we go. That's the fall writing tag. I am going to tag people in this though, so get ready. I mean, you already know this. Hala, you're tagged. And Tamama, you're tagged. And who else has been making content recently? You know what? I don't know if Kat's going to see this, but Kat, you've been writing a lot. I'm tagging Kat. Kat Leo writing, you're tagged. Anybody else who wants to be tagged as well, you're welcome to do this. But those 3, I just did those 3 and did 2. I'm fine. It's because I have this cut on my hand. It's weird. I don't know where I got it. I woke up with it. It's fine. I'm not haunted. Okay, so you're tagged, and that's the video. Hope you all enjoyed this. As usual, you can reach me down in the comments below or on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. And I will see you next time, cuties. Bye. Even if you're doing like, if you're going off of, excuse you, ma'am, we're filming. You live here when we film. So if you're what are you doing? Stay with me, please. Can you talk to the good people of the internet and calm down? Can you? Okay, next question. Whatever. I got an air purifier and she's just fascinated by this air purifier.